Oh, we're live. Hello, America. So by way of now being on tape and live streaming, I understand, I should say, my name is Frank White. We're at Amazing Changes. It is phenomenal. The room is full. There's like 2 empty seats here, so it's great. I love it. The energy in the room is really cool, and I'm delighted to be here. By way of disclaimer, one of the things that I need to, actually, delighted to see you. By way of disclaimer, tonight's conversation, our little mini workshop, is about tolerations. And that subject evokes certain feelings in people, negative or not so negative, and varying degrees of negativity. Some of you may feel a desire to speak and share. And I hope that you do, and I encourage you to, and I will respond and interact with you extremely well if that happens. But I need everybody else in the room, including the persons that might speak, to feel comfortable, confident, and safe. So I need a little bit of a verbal confidentiality agreement. I would love to see you share your experience on Facebook or any other social media. I would love you to see you share your experience. Your experience of me, that's great. I'm a big boy, I can handle that, good or bad. But not your experience of something else that somebody shared. That's their intimate, personal thing, and I like it to stay with them. If they choose to share it, that's their responsibility, right? And they can do so. So I need you all to agree with a little hand in the air that you can hold confidence. Good, thank you very much. Having said that and gotten that paperwork out of the way, let's talk a little bit about tolerations, and I want to lead into this by talking a little bit about Amazing Changes. As Tana said, I recently met Tana, Abby, and I knew Nancy Ray, who's not here this evening. Hi, Nancy, if you're watching, if you watch later. And so I got invited to come over and visit the facility and visit the folks. And I came over and I parked almost where I'm parked tonight, out in the back. And got out of my car. And as I started to walk across the parking lot, I felt this energy. And I'm pretty sensitive to energy. And I just felt good, right? I just felt good. I felt positive. I felt comforting. Do I have a frame that I got to stay within for you to be comfortable? Okay, no. I'll stay. You find a sweet spot and I'll stay there. This live streaming stuff is sometimes a challenge. So if I move out of frame, because I'm used to people that know me, and some of you do, you've been to my events, I run all over the room and get people up off their seats and excited. I'll try not to do that tonight. But I felt this energy coming across the parking lot. I walked through the walkway, walked down the sidewalk over here, coming up to the front door. I just thought, wow, this really feels good. I came in the front door and I just said, I love this space. I love this space. There's an energy here, right? And the energy was warmth. It was accepting. It was encouraging. It was safe. It was comforting. It was all of those things that you want to have in a space where you're going to have an opportunity to create experiences for people to move through transformational moments and personal growth moments in their life through products, services, experiences, workshops, seminars, retreats, whatever it may be. Immediately, I felt like, now I know why I was supposed to be here. And sometimes we know we're supposed to be there, but we don't know why. As I asked some of you tonight when I had a chance to meet you, what made you come tonight, right? And so I felt right away. Then I met Tana, right? So, well, like there's like an old soul from a past life. We bonded like instantly, right? And then Abby was the same, and Nancy Ray, of course, I've already spent time with Nancy Ray at events, and so I already had a really nice, warm connection there that I felt very comfortable with and honored. And so, and I'm happy that I have those. So, I want you to appreciate, and hopefully you'll take a second and kind of just take a second and get a sense of the space that you're in tonight. You kind of feel that? Yeah, you feeling? Does it feel good? Can I sense a head nods? Good. Yeah. It feels really good. It feels really safe, really comfortable, really inviting and warm. And that's good because we're talking about a subject in tolerations that isn't always warm and inviting and fuzzy and happy and loving, right? Tolerations are a challenge at times. And so I was asked by somebody when they saw the post on Facebook, why did you choose, Frank? We know you. We know all the things you talk about, all the workshops that you do. Why did you choose Tolerations, right? For your first thing to do innovation change. And I said, well, that's a great question. When I left here, we had talked about me coming this week. We set the date, set the time, and all that stuff. And as I was driving, I got about 1.5 miles, 2 miles from here, and I just had this flash. It's like the universe talks to us, does it not? Yes. We understand that, right? We understand that. The universe was like tapping me on the shoulder, and I kept saying, hey, I got to drive, don't just drive me, right? And so I'm getting this tap on the shoulder saying, hey, this is what you're supposed to talk about. And they said, Tolerations. I said, why? Because Tolerations is a pretty major piece of a 2.5-day weekend, really immersion, transformational kind of workshop that I do. Why that piece? And they said, well, you'll just think about it. Just think about it. And I got reminded as I continued to drive about conversations, text messages, emails, phone calls that I'd had over the 1.5 weeks or 2 weeks prior to that moment, right? And those texts and emails and telephone conversations were from a lot of people from around the country, several here in Boise, saying, what's up? What's up with this energy stuff? Why does everything feel so negative? Why is everything so dark? Why is everything so this? Why is everything so that? And in a lot of ways, they were in different words, they were saying a lot of the same things. We're conflicted. We don't understand what's happening on the planet. And we're feeling negative energy. And some of that conversation drifted into tolerations, what we're willing to tolerate, what we put up with, how we allow ourselves to be defined over time because of what we tolerate and put up with. I said, well, wow, thank you for the tap on the shoulder to giving me the message of what I should talk about tonight. So that's why I chose Tolerations. That's the source it came from. To start off with, we should define tolerations. And I have to tell you that there isn't a definition that you're going to like. I've learned the hard way. I have learned that we could go to Webster and look up the dictionary definition of tolerations and find something quite profound. Except none of us use dictionaries anymore, so we could go to Google. And we could Google, right? Some of us do not have 2 big ones on my desk in my office, as you may know. And, but most people don't. Google is the source of all knowing. And we can Google that information, and we can get a textbook definition of what a toleration is, right? What it represents, how it's defined. But it falls short. We understand the words, but the words don't relate to our definition of toleration. As unique as you are, as unique as every single person in this room is, as unique as every individual person on the planet is, so unique is your definition of your toleration. If I'm experiencing, and I'm tolerating the same thing that Chile is tolerating, the same thing that Tana is tolerating, or the same thing that Abby is tolerating, right? My definition of that is different. My perspective is, my history is, my soul is, my spiritual awakening or lack thereof is, my psychology, right? All of those things allow me to have a much more intimate, personal definition of the identical experience. Something as simple, it could be a relationship thing that we're tolerating, it could be a work-related thing that we're tolerating. It doesn't matter what the toleration is. What matters is, even when it's identical, I can say, Abby, I know exactly how you feel, but I don't. I can come close. I can understand some languaging that can be similar. We can talk in generalities about the similarities of this toleration that we're dealing with, this struggle that we're having, right? But it won't be the same. It's important that you know that, so that when you're in a conversation with somebody that says, well, I know just how you feel comfortable and be brave enough to say, I appreciate that, you kind of know how I feel, but let me tell you how I really feel, right? Because my experience is different, my life experience is different, my destination and my destiny is different. So I can't give you this textbook toleration, but we can talk about some similarities that are exhibited when it shows up. So I guess that first question is, how do tolerations show up? How do we realize that there's something going on, right? Anxiety is a good word to use in this case. We start to be anxious about something, an event, a situation, a location, or a person, right? We're having this anxiety, right? I'm about to go to this meeting, I'm about to go to work. I'm about to go home. And somebody's waiting for me at home, and I'm anxious. And so we have anxiety. We have frustration. That's another place it shows up. I'm really frustrated. I'm really frustrated about the situation, the circumstances, the event, the person, right? And so it shows up as frustration. So we have it showing up as anxiety. We have it showing up as frustration. We have it showing up as disconnect. We have it showing up as distrust. All of us, we're around a situation we just don't feel trusting. There's a trust thing happening here. And that's based on a toleration. So it's another way this toleration is going to show up. And then it grows. So it starts out of, quite often, very rarely does a toleration show up instantly and take you right to rage. That's not a toleration, that's an event. That's a circumstance, that's a situation, that's a crisis. That's not a toleration. It just popped up and you're enraged. Get the difference there? That's not a toleration. So you didn't put up with anything, it just happened. Now maybe it happened this morning, you had to go to work, you're ready to come home now and kill your spouse. I get that, right? I get that. But it wasn't a toleration. That was an event, a circumstance, a situation, right? That created a disagreement, a discomfort, right? A disconnect. And enraged you, or got you really, really, really mad, really, really upset, really, really hurt. So you're in pain and dis-ease. You're not at ease, you get dis-ease, right? And so you have to deal with that. That's not a toleration. Toleration shows up as the emotion first. Sometimes we consciously connect the dot. Sometimes we consciously say, let me pick something easy. We all have jobs, we all go someplace to work, other than those of us that are entrepreneurs, right? We have staff maybe, right? I certainly hire staff that I use. And so we have so in a work environment, and we have staff, we have fellow employees there, and Susie comes back from lunch 10 minutes late every day. It's like, every day? Sue, what's up? Sue? But no, but the boss doesn't say anything, right? This is messing me up. Why? Because I'm the one that gets to go to lunch when she comes back, right? And so I wanted to make an appointment because I wanted to have lunch with Tana today. But now Tana's sitting at, right, where we're going to have lunch. So she's over at Panera's, right, standing in line, holding a space for us to get lunch, right? And I'm not going to be there because Susie's late again. And so over time, that festers and it grows. What was a mild irritation becomes an upset. And the upset becomes an anger, a strong discomfort, grows into an anger, and now we have an opportunity for a much larger confrontation than we otherwise would have needed to have, should have had, totally, right? So, let me give you a metaphor, a really good metaphor for toleration. We've all been out working in the yard, working on a project around the house or whatever, right? And in the process of that work, we get a splinter. But we're in the middle of the work. But we get the splinter. But we're in the middle of the work. So we tolerate it. We finish up everything. But in the process of finishing up everything, what happens to the splinter? Well, if you ever notice splinters, and I know you have, we all have had a splinter, right? So, if you notice a splinter, the reality of the splinter is that we get the splinter, and if you stop right in that moment, you look at that splinter, what you always see is there's a little teeny piece of that splinter sticking out. It's right there. So we have that little piece of splinter sticking out, and if we stopped in that moment and dealt with it, we could get a little piece of tweezers. We could be careful. The splinter would be gone. But we don't do that because after all, we're in the moment. We're in the middle of the project. We're pruning the rose bushes. We're fixing the garage. We're doing whatever we are. So we brush it aside and we go on. And so then later that day, the end's already broken off by now because we've done 1,000 other things. And we're caught up in, now we have this splinter. We don't have time. We don't have time. Because we can't even get it out now, but we don't have to because we've got to fix dinner or we've got to go to dinner. Or I got to get dressed for work and I got to go to work. Or I got to finish work and I got to go home. Whatever those things are, all of a sudden, I don't have time. I got a splinter. But I don't have time. But I got a splinter. So what am I going to acknowledge? What am I going to honor? What am I going to honor? I have a splinter and I don't have time. What am I going to honor? Which of those two? I'm going to honor the time. I don't have time, so I can't deal with it. So I'm going to honor that. So I'm going to go to work on time. Or I'm going to go home on time, or I'm going to fix dinner on time, or I'm going to, whatever those things are, whatever that whatever agenda item in my life is taking place that is causing me, actually giving me the grace to, what? Ignore this splinter, because now it's an issue. Now it's just not a splinter anymore. Now it's an issue, right? Now I have to really deal with this. And here's what I've noticed about splinters over the years. No matter how much I try, and I have, they just won't go away by themselves. They just won't crawl out from under your skin and fall on the floor. They just won't do it. You got to get involved, right? They don't go away on their own. Now, another thing that I want to point out to you tonight, and we're not going to, I should tell you right now, in an hour or so conversation about tolerations, we're not going to resolve all of yours, nor will I totally put tolerations to bed. We're going to have a wonderful conversation about them. So there's two types of toleration. One that we know about, think about, talk about, complain about, ignore, the main splinters in our world, that level of toleration, are the external tolerations. Those are the ones that conflict your life, most of the time consciously. The other toleration is the internal toleration, and that is what you are tolerating in your life and not addressing or changing, meaning resisting, avoiding, or whatever. You can't project it on somebody else because they're not the source of it, you are. Now, you may project it in a self-satisfying way on a work environment, a relationship environment, the geography. It's cold now, it's not hot. It's hot now, it's not cold. Whatever those things are that we allow us to take something that we're responsible for, accountable for, and should own up to, and allow us to project it outwardly. But the truth is, that's an internal toleration. Those we don't think about anymore. We don't give them any more credit than we give the external tolerations. We avoid them both, like the plague, until, well, now it's swollen, it's infected, I have to deal with it. I'm going to tell you in a minute how I deal with it, but I have to deal with it. So those are the two. Now here's what happens. When we have a toleration, we are in the moment of decision, are we not? We have to make a decision. At some point in this toleration experience, we have to make a decision. When faced with two equally tough choices, most people, I'm sorry to tell you, choose the third choice, which is not to choose.
Door number 3.
Yeah. So how do we deal with them? How do we really deal with tolerations? Here's my best process for beginning to deal with tolerations. I believe in my heart, from my experience, my observation, that we deal best with them by first acknowledging that toleration exists. We have to acknowledge it because we're in denial, right? We're in such denial that what have we done with our splinter? We put a Band-Aid on it. We don't even want to see it. That's how much we're going to bury the toleration. We're going to bury the splinter under a bandage. We're going to put on gloves. We're going to keep our hand in our pocket. Whatever we're going to do. Those are all examples of, right, resistance to dealing with it. Unwillingness to acknowledge the fact that the toleration is there in the first place. A teeny one or a big one, it doesn't matter. We react to them and deal with them all most of the time. Most of us on planet Earth, we deal with them most of the time the same way. By resistance, lack of acknowledgement, and not wanting to deal with, right? Okay. So, the first thing, if the first thing is acknowledgement, if that's the truth, the fact that I say it's the truth doesn't mean it's so for you. I'm just saying it's the truth because it's my truth from my observation and the years of experience in doing this, right? Okay. So if the truth is that the first step to this is acknowledgement, then I would like us tonight to go through the first step of acknowledgement. You all have to, how many people here, by show of hands, are tolerating something? How many people here are fibbing right now? Just wanted to point that out for those of you perusing the room to see if you had the only hand up. You don't. 1, 2, 3, 4. I would like you to take a minute. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to do this. And I want you to acknowledge, write down some tolerations, some things that you are tolerating. We tend to get dragged down and overwhelmed by things that accumulate over time, and we end up cluttering our minds with this. And it ends up being like an overstuffed suitcase that we are dragging around through our lives from airport to airport to airport. Meaning home to work to relationships to family, all this. That's the airports in our life, right? Some of us in this room tonight have whole sets of luggage full of things we are tolerating. You've expanded beyond the carry-on bag at the airport, right? So whatever level of toleration that you feel comfortable writing down, start to write down. This is a self-acknowledgement. So take a minute. I'm not going to talk for a minute, and write down things that you are tolerating.
Does everybody have a pen?
Well, good question. Does anybody need a pencil? We have a bunch here. No, we're all good? Okay, good. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes. Please do that.
Hey Frank, can I have an extra sheet
An extra sheet of
of the sheet that you passed out?
the notes or the toleration?
The toleration.
The toleration sheet. Absolutely. You got to fill them both up?
Thank you.
Yeah, well, you're not going to have to talk later if that's okay.
Can we just underline everything that you already have written down and all that over?
Very humble.
That'll be a little bit less personal, but you're free to do that. Everybody got a few things written down? Some pulled out a typewriter. I'm impressed. Wow, you're just throwing stuff down there. Good job. Okay, I'm going to continue to talk a little bit. If you feel, as we go on, a few more things surface for you, please take the opportunity to write them down, because this document, you're going to take this home. We're going to talk about what you can or might want to do with it, right? But you are going to take it home. This is yours. We're not going to collect these. I mean, I'm going to read them all out loud, but other than that, no, I'm not. It's very personal. When we begin to identify and acknowledge the fact that we are, in fact, tolerating something, externally or internally, we are tolerating. That's the first step. That's the first step in having an opportunity to make some choices and some decisions, right? There are moments, it's important to hear this. There are moments that define a person's whole life. Moments in which everything that they are and everything that they may possibly become hinge on a single decision. The single decision may be you dealing with and confronting and resolving, moving through resolution, this thing that you are tolerating. That may transform your entire life, and you're not doing it. That may transform your entire relationship, and you're not doing it. It may bring you closer to your children than you've been in years, and you're not doing it. You may be able to speak to your mother or your father again, and you're not doing it. You may not actually have to go to work tomorrow and quit your job. How wonderful would that be, especially if you like your job, just hates your boss. Or hates Susan, who comes back from lunch late every day, right? You don't have to do those things. You don't have to allow these things that you are tolerating that are upsetting you and taking you from upset, discomfort, right? Anxiety, frustration, to anger, to rage. So if we can catch these things in the early stage, or catch them regardless of the length of time, right? Because socks on the floor, it takes years for that to come rage. I'm just saying, socks on the floor years before you're in rage, right? Right. You go through several stages of socks on the floor, right? Up to and including burning all the socks so you don't have to see them anymore, right? Okay. So now you have a whole family going barefoot. Not your problem, it's theirs. I understand. So there are things that can go for years, and it's going to be a surface toleration. It's still, by the way, socks on the floor should be dealt with. I'm making light because it's a nice metaphor for me to use, because some tolerations are very light. You think, well, that's just a little thing. Well, that's just a little thing. Well, after 5 years, it's not little anymore, right? Because at some point in time, you're tired of bending over after a long day, picking up your children's and your husband's or whatever, your spouse's socks.
My own.
Or your own. That's a personal and internal toleration, right? It's like if I only could put my keys there, then I would have to find them every time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so dealing with the toleration, dealing with the cause of dis-ease, discomfort, upset, concern, anxiety, frustration, and anger, dealing with it somewhere in the process from frustration to rage is ideal. Hopefully before anger even, right? That's ideal. That's what we want to do. Well, until we acknowledge we can't even do that, right? So the first job you had tonight was to acknowledge, make this list of things that you're tolerating that are causing you frustration, upset, anxiety, depression, disconnect, right? Anger, whatever those things may be, whatever the source of that is. The next thing you have to do is, you want to ask yourself this question. What is the truth about my upset or my toleration? What is the truth about it? Well, an example might be, and thank you for giving me this wonderful gift of metaphor, the truth might be that the truth is, since my children were born, they've experienced me leaving my socks on the floor. And now, they leave their socks on the floor, and that's the truth, and I'm upset with them, but I was the teacher, the guide, I was the escort agent that took them on that journey that has caused me my discomfort, my upset, and my toleration. That could be the truth, couldn't it?
Yep.
Right? But who are we mad at?
The kids.
Hello? Yes. Who do we want to kill? We're praying for them to get 18 if we can kick them out, right? And with their socks. So that could be the truth. So one of the things is, the first thing we said, acknowledge the toleration to begin with, what is it? And then identify what the truth is. Now the truth might not be our sock metaphor. The truth might be that I'm at work all the time, I'm on time, I go to lunch on time, I come back on time, and I feel a sense of being disrespected and dishonored and unappreciated because Susie comes back to work late every day. These are the emotions that I'm feeling, right? And there's a company policy that says you're supposed to honor the blah, right? Nobody else in the office does that. Nobody else in the company does that. I mean, emergencies happen, we understand that, but generally speaking, nobody does it, right? So that's not only my truth. That seems to kind of be the universal truth in the space that we're in right now, called work. In the workspace, that seems to be our universal truth. So that could be the truth. The truth could be, it really is an external circumstance that's happening to us, that's causing this upset, frustration, anxiety, anger, whatever, right? So in one example, the truth was, we created it. We created our own toleration, our own frustration, our own anger, our own upset. We projected it out on the kids. Now we have to fix us. We still have to fix the kids. We still have to deal with that. We have to deal with both of these. I'm sorry, Abby, you can't frown, sorry. We have to deal with them both, right? So we can say, I understand the truth now. I've had my epiphany, I've had my realization. The truth is, it's about me and the example that I have set. I can fix that. I'm going to stop leaving my socks on the floor. I'm proud of you. Good job, well done. Will they change? No, because they don't even notice it's your socks anymore. This is the process. That's the lifestyle. That's the circumstance that you created. So you still have to deal with it. Now, if we take too long, I'm going to go back to my splinter. Now I'll come back up to where we are. If we take too long to deal with these tolerations, especially the serious ones, right, the challenging ones, the ones that we're afraid of, the ones that we're in denial of, ooh, and resistance, ooh, right, those. The length of time and the level of resistance and the amount of frustration to anger or rage we've allowed to accumulate within ourselves create the pain with which we must now confront ourselves and the other person to resolve the toleration. And here's the pain. Here's my splinter metaphor, yet again revisited. I now must peel off this Band-Aid, which is pretty ugly because it's been on there for a long time, right? And now I've got this festered splinter. And if you learn how I did as a child growing up in my generation, I didn't like having to have my splinters dealt with because we had to get a sewing needle. We didn't have ointments and cool stuff. Then we had alcohol. We poured alcohol, right? And that's what you're going to experience. You're not going to have the nice soothing gel. Oh, that's so nice, thank you. And the cushion Band-Aid. Oh, no. You're going to be pouring alcohol on this. Now, why would you let too much time take place? We stressed this out way too long, right? So now we're going to take it off. We're going to pour alcohol on there. And then, as my grandma, my mom, and my aunts used to do, for some reason with a smile on their face, I'm still not satisfied with that, but regardless, they take the needle, right? Maybe some of you have done this, right? And you're starting to dig the splinter out. Now you think brilliantly, I can take the teeny end of this needle, and somehow miraculously, right? I'm like Houdini. I think I really can take this needle, this tiny, and find the exact end of the splinter and just push it out. No, you can't do that. It was there too long. Too much has happened. Skin has grown around it. So now you're digging, you're pushing, you're grinding. You finally get, so you can't. So then you're scratching, you're breaking the skin, you're tearing it open. Now you got this gashed wound. Now you got to do what? You got to get those darn tweezers. Oh, gosh, darn, the tweezers. And so then they dig the tweezer in there, and then the splinter does what? It breaks off because it's been in there, it's rotted already. So now it breaks off. Now we got to pour more alcohol. Now we got to dig some more. Then we get the tweezers, and we're tweezing in there again. And we finally get the splinter out. What started as a splinter has become this giant wound. And what started as being able to be resolved in a conversation, maybe a discomforting, uncomfortable conversation, but a conversation, has become this confrontation, not a conversation. The conversation went to a confrontation. And the result of the confrontation, because we've allowed it to extend over time, created a wound, a painful wound that I and my splinter got to experience. And my splinter is the other person or situation or circumstance involved. Yes? That's the splinter. So now the splinter, the other person, the circumstance, or the situation, is in actually as much or greater pain than I am in digging it out. So it was a very painful resolution. It took a lot of time to dig it out, didn't it? We had to keep pouring alcohol on it, right? So we didn't calm down. No, we fought and we fought and we fought. We yelled, we threw things, whatever those things. However that escalates in your world, right? And some or all of that has happened to us all, right? Thank goodness that they don't make cast iron skillets anymore, right? So, well, they still do, but not too many houses have them, right? Okay, so now, not only did we create this abundance of pain and discomfort that we did not need to, we now have a wound that will take time to heal, to regrow the skin, to reform the cells, to heal from the inside out, because we allowed a toleration to continue and to exist, instead of dealing with it early on. So, as you look at your tolerations, you have to understand that a couple things happen. Everything, I'm going to give you a couple of handouts to take with you tonight. One is a quote by Carl Jung, who says, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. And so one of the things that we learned through finally having to dig the splinter out and pouring alcohol on this open, painful wound and creating so much pain for the other person or the situation or the family member, whoever it might be, and ourselves, we have to take all these years days, hours, days, weeks, months, or years, and condense that down to digging out the splinter, creating this open, gashed wound now. All that pain got concentrated down there, just so much more. And we learned then a few things. There's a few lessons to learn in this. We certainly learned something about ourselves. We learned the result of resistance, because we've resisted this, haven't we? So we learned the result in pain of resistance. We learned the pain and the result of denial, because we've denied this. Because every time our mom comes over, they say, why do you let your kids put the socks on the floor? What's up with you? I never let you do it. Well, that's why I left home, because I could do it now, right? Okay. So it's not that we're not getting reminders from the universe, from friends, from family, right? So he hit you again. Why did you tolerate that? Why are you putting up with that? Why are you allowing that to happen? So it boils and it creates this nightmare situation. So we learn not just the pain of allowing the toleration to extend over time and manifest and grow into something tremendously greater than it ever would have been initially. We also learn something about dealing with and confronting our fears and our resistance to change, because one thing that we do know is that we know the known, right? We know what we know, right? So I know if I go to work, Susie's going to be late, come back from lunch, but I still got my job, my boss loves me, and Mary and I combined will pick up the lack of work, right? So we know that. What we don't know is, we're going to go to the boss, we're going to complain, we're going to make a scene. There's no question now, because now we can't take it anymore. This is going on for 9 months. I've had it. Susie's out on a stretcher or getting terminated, but she's leaving the building. Well, we don't do that, do we? Why? Because we don't know who's going to replace Susie. Because Susie, at least we know, she can do all of these things, and she's 10 minutes late every day. But she can do all these things. I have to go to lunch late every day. She can do all these things, but I'm late for my lunch appointment with 10. We're learning a lot. We're learning something about ourselves in that process, in that moment. It's very, very revealing, right? And we have an opportunity then to grow and to understand that the unknown is not necessarily worse than the known, but the known isn't acceptable. I would rather have an unknown opportunity, Susie's replacement is an unknown opportunity, than a known discomfort. And I think most of us would rather have an unknown opportunity, because it could be, because they might actually hire Beth. She's cool, by the way. If she applies at your company, hire her. She's so good, right? My point is the unknown opportunity could be this blessing that you've been waiting for, and the discomfort, pain, and upset could go away. Because of your willingness to let go of the comfort you have in the discomfort of the known. Yes? Yeah? Yeah. So, how are we doing on time? Ooh, look at me. Look at me. I got so much time. This is great. I want to ask a question. And I want everybody to feel comfortable. And I don't want anybody to be in discomfort. Right? Does anybody have a toleration that they want to share or have a conversation with me here about? Because I'm really good at this.
I'll do it.
Okay.
So my partner has his days and nights mixed up, and he stays up till 3 o'clock in the morning, and then stays in bed until today. When I got home, it was 12:30. He got out of bed today. 12:30. And so I just noticed that it's really, I mean, I've been writing about it, but it's really pissing me off.
I can tell. I can tell. Because, and here's what's cool. Here's what's really cool. I want everybody to notice this. I don't want to put you on the spot so that anybody else feels uncomfortable with talking to me in a minute, right? But I really want to acknowledge you for a couple things. One, you're in resistance to really letting it all out, which is good. So you're holding back, and that's okay. This is bigger than you're telling us right now. This is bothering you more than you're letting us experience through your emotional release, and that's good and that's cool, right?
Yeah.
How long has this gone on?
Almost a year now.
Almost a year. Ooh, you're good at tolerating. Look at you. Yeah, you got like an MBA level on this one. This is good. Yeah, we want to keep you from the PhD level though. Yeah. So what does that toleration, what is that toleration creating in your world? What is it causing you? Where is your pain? Where is your discomfort?
So what's causing me is separation. Because I feel like I need to protect myself, that, you know, I've got to do this alone. He's not helping with the chores, he's not helping with anything, and, you know, so I have to deal with it by myself.
There's something else that I'm feeling. Are you comfortable? Can we have this dialogue?
Yeah.
Okay, because everybody's learning right now. You get that, right? We all get it, that everybody's learning right now. Okay, so there's something else that you're not saying that I'm really feeling right now, and that is that you're feeling a disconnect. You're not getting the hug either. You're not getting help with the chores, but you're not getting the hug. You're not getting loved on.
Yeah, it's yet being left alone.
Yes. So that's the greatest source of your pain, your discomfort right now. You don't have this emotional connection that you hunger for, that you want, that you had at some point, or you wouldn't be in a relationship in the first place. Right? So there's that disconnect. But sometimes the emotional connection allows us an opportunity, because we have the emotional connection. We're getting loved on. I'm using that as a general metaphor for us now. Because we're getting loved on, we have the space to find the opportunity to deal with the discomfort which shows up as something that we're tolerating. Why I know the disconnect emotionally is happening to some degree, you would have otherwise found the space to deal with this. This has lasted a year. This isn't hours, days, or weeks, or even months. This is at least a year or so, right? So that tells me that there's two sides to this that's happening. So you have a need to reconnect emotionally. That takes time together. He's not giving you that because he's asleep and you're awake and he's right. That's happening. And the other byproduct of that is you're not getting help with around the house, you're not getting with chores, you're feeling that you're carrying the full burden alone. And that burden's getting heavier and heavier, is it not? Yeah, it's like you're having moments when like, I don't even want to get up today because I'm tired. And I'm in need, and I'm tired, and I'm in dis-ease, and I'm discomforted right now, and I'm lonely. And my loneliness is the greatest part of my toleration, because I don't deserve to be lonely, and I deserve to be loved on, and I deserve to be assisted, and I deserve to be in a relationship that allows mutual respect, mutual comfort, mutual connection, and mutual concern, mutual understanding, mutual acceptance, and mutual awareness. Your partner should be aware that you're in discomfort. And that's the other reason that you're feeling this lack of the emotional connection that I'm talking about. I'm going to use being loved on as a metaphor. You can take it to whatever degree you want, right? So that's where that disconnect is residing. So you have this challenge. This is not an easy one, but it's a pretty common one. But it's not easy. And yours is yours, right? We're all unique. The fact that you've let it go on longer is going to take a little bit of time. But this is one you've acknowledged. You've written it down. You've actually been journaling about it. Yes, for probably a few weeks or so. Journaling. Okay, good. So.
But what I've come to, here's the challenge, because as spiritual people, right, I have decided, okay, you know, what is this bringing up for me? Oh, this is this little child, I've named her. Her name is Melissa. She was the cheese stands alone. She was this child that, you know, when I was 5 and playing farmer in the dell, I was left alone. You know, the cheese stands alone. And so I've named this child. So what I'm trying to do, instead of make him wrong, because what I've kind of come to is he is on his journey right now, and I cannot drive his car. It's his job to drive his car. I have to drive my own car. So for me to take myself and to love on my part of myself that feels lost or unloved, and get that it's not, I don't want to be his mother and harp on him.
It's not your job, but you're feeling a little abandoned right now.
But I'm by him I am, but I'm doing more to be with myself.
I get that, but I want you to understand something, okay? Your toleration is taking on a new life in just what you said. I'm not saying that you have to unseat his world. I'm not saying you have to take him out of his car, right? Because he's on his journey. We have to let him drive his car. I get that, right? You have to drive your car because you're on your journey. I get that. We all get that we have our own journeys. We have our own realities of where we are. We know where we are in life. We have our own destinies, hopefully, right? We have this sense of direction we're going. We're all at different places in our spiritual growth, our spiritual awareness, right? Nobody in this room is on this at the same spot on the, right? On the journey. That doesn't mean, the fact that you acknowledge that, by the way, let me back up to a couple of sentences. The fact that you acknowledge that he's on a journey, I admire you for that acknowledgement. That acknowledgement is showing up as a resistance to and a denial of your willingness to confront the discomfort that is causing you. You do not deserve to be in discomfort because he is on his journey. Two different journeys that are not in convergence with each other, but running parallel, which is what you're describing to me, doesn't mean that they have to cause discomfort for either of the other two people involved in this mutual journey. I am not at the same place in my life with many people that I have relationships with, but I don't want to bring them discomfort, and I don't want to suffer discomfort because we are at different stations in life, different places in life, different points in our journey. We all are on this great spiritual journey for awakening. Hopefully, that's our ultimate goal as a human experience, right? Some of us get it, some of us don't, some of us will, some of us won't. I understand that. You have to understand that you deserve something. You deserve your happiness. You deserve your support. You deserve your comfort. You deserve, right? The same things that you're granting him, you deserve to be granted to you. Do not give up your ownership of your happiness, your comfort, your destiny, your goal, your spiritual growth in support of somebody else's. Because I don't see you as a martyr, but you just defined one. I don't think you want to be a martyr, but you're acting like one, and that's how you have defined your role right now. So I would suggest to you that you have an opportunity. I'm not going to be in this environment your guidance counselor. I'm not going to be your psychologist. I'm not going to be your psychiatrist. That's not my role tonight, right? And I've trained hundreds of psychologists over the years. That's not my role tonight, but I would suggest to you that you have an opportunity to first acknowledge you've done. Second, find the truth of it. You've exhibited and expressed some of that already, right? What's the truth of it? What's the toleration? We have it. What's the truth of it? You've identified some of it, some of for you and some for him. You haven't projected it all externally, which I'm proud of you for. That's great. You've taken some personal responsibility for that, right? Okay. And you would acknowledge, I think, if pressed, that you have your separate journey and you're not going to get off of your journey just to support somebody else's.
Correct.
Right? The reverse is true. The reverse is true. He has to honor the same agreement. You have to have the same understanding and the same agreement. He can't make you get off of your journey to support him. And you don't want to make him get off of his journey to support you. You both can stay on your journeys, mutually respecting each other's space, journey needs, and requirements to make the relationship work. And that's going to come through a conversation, and it might not be comfortable to have. You might start off with, this is how I'm feeling. You might be, I watched a live play of Angela's nonverbal communication class that she gave recently. So I promise you, if you didn't go to her class, find it online and watch it. It's very good. You are non-verbally communicating with each other already. He knows you are discomforted right now. He knows you are in some degree of discomfort, anxiety, frustration, pain, anger, upset. Fill in the blanks for you. He knows that. He's not dealing with it. And here's how he's not dealing with it. He's sleeping when you're lap. He's hiding out because he doesn't want to deal with it either, but he knows it's there. You're hiding out in your journal, but you know it's there. This will probably be an easier conversation for you to have than you realize, but you want to start off gently. When we get the splinter, if we remember when it first goes in, if we catch it in that moment, now I know this is taking time, but this still fits. If you gently approach that splinter, you're going to get it out a lot more easily without digging it out, breaking it out, and cutting the skin, and creating all this pain. If you gently engage the conversation from the position of, I'm having these feelings. You may or may not sense that I'm having these feelings, but I need to share with you. I need to share with you these feelings that I'm having. Because I'm seeking acknowledgement and understanding from you on the feelings that I'm experiencing. And I desperately need, to talk about it with you. Can we have this conversation? And what you need to know first is that I'm not defensive in this moment, and I'm not in judgment. I'm in a conversation. I'm in a loving, engaging, open, safe conversation. I have no judgment on my agenda in this conversation. I have no anger in my agenda for this conversation. What I have is loving need and personal concern for having this conversation. And I need your engagement and your full attention to it. And begin with the feelings. Because we can understand the feelings. He understands that you're unhappy. He's going to have his definition of that. Remember how we said everybody has their own unique definitions? When you say, I'm sad, he has his definition of what he thinks your sad is. So you have to be able to share your definition of sad. You have to be able to share your definition of upset. You have to be able to share your definition of disconnect. So be willing to do that. And this may take more than one conversation. Something tells me that it probably will, given how you define this as a person. And I'm happy to talk to you privately about this, and I'm happy to do that with you. But that's where I would start. I would start there. But I would not allow myself to be a martyr, and I would not allow myself to ever, ever, ever in my life give up my sense of joy and need, my sense of need for love, joy, acceptance. If you give up who you are and what you need in this planet, you will not complete your journey because you will be stuck. The minute that happens, you stop traveling on your journey. Do we all understand that?
Yes.
You stop moving forward. A toleration that big stops your forward movement. I'm sorry. I don't care how many books you're reading, how many workshops you go to, how many seminars you've attended. I don't care how many spiritual advisors you're listening to, how many tape CDs, or anything else that you're doing. You're not moving forward. You can pour all this information you want into your brain, and you can feel alive for the 60 minutes that you listen to the tape. But you are not moving forward when you have a toleration in a situation, a circumstance that is that powerful. That is an anchor. That is a giant anchor on a little teeny rowboat. You're not moving. And something tells me you have an extreme passion for forward movement and growth, and spiritual growth especially. I'm feeling that from you. Am I right? Mm-hmm. Good. So,
I find my joy other places. It's
yes.
very interesting.
You are. No, you're manufacturing. Please, I'm not going to let you get. I'm not going to let you get away with that. You're manufacturing your joy in other places. You're replacing the joy that you want, desire, need, and deserve with other places that you are supplementing it with. It's like artificial sweetener. I want my real sugar, and that's my partner. I don't need saccharin from Starbucks. I want my real partner, my real sweet, my real sugar. That's what I want. That's what I want loving on me. Okay? Was that helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, good. You're welcome. Absolutely. How are we doing? Ooh, how about that? Is everybody okay? I got a little emotional there for a minute, but I'm wondering if everybody's okay. Right? I got to pull my thermometer out. It's the kind you put under your arm. It's not the other kind. Okay, so got to clear that up. I don't want anybody concerned or worried right now. Is there anything else, or anybody else that wants to share anything or ask anything and move through anything at all? Because I'd love to be able to do that with you and for you and support you in that if I can tonight. If not, I'm also good. We're good? Yes? Yes.
I have a 16-year-old son who is failing all but one class. And I feel like I'm trying to hold him to getting his work done and getting it turned in, and obviously I'm not. And I don't like being the bad guy, and I'm not getting support from my husband, so I have to do it myself.
Yes. So what's the truth of your toleration? Is it okay if we go a few minutes over? I want to respect your time, because we said it was an hour, but this is the sweet spot of what's happening right now.
You know,
everybody's okay.
you had from 30 to 90 minutes, so
Okay.
as long as they're going, great.
Okay, if everybody's okay, I don't want to be disrespectful of your time. This is the magic that happens in a workshop. So, what's the truth of your toleration?
I'm letting him get away with not holding to the boundaries I've set.
Okay, so you're tolerating you allowing him to disrespect the boundaries? I want to be clear on the toleration, because you just defined a personal and internal toleration. That's a byproduct of an upset that he's feeling in school, and he's supposed to be a smart kid. He's your son, after all. Should be.
He's not upset.
Right. So you're upset because he's not upset.
I'm upset because he's not taking action.
Yeah, he's just not. He's taking action. He's not taking the action that you wanted to take. He's taking lots of action.
That's true.
Right.
He's wasting time in a lot of
Yes,
ways.
that's right. So he's finding ways to take action. Right. He's in love with the action he's taking. But there's different things here that I'm hearing in your story. There's different things that are being tolerated. One, the son who's not honoring the boundaries that you think you have set, which tells me that you really haven't set them firmly, right? Because firmly set boundaries get honored, right? One way or another, right? Through comfortably or discomfortably, they get honored. The other thing you're tolerating is you're not getting support from your husband in dealing with this circumstance, this situation with your son. And you're tolerating the fact that you're allowing it to go on. You're a little bit upset with yourself right now. I'm hearing that in your voice. So you're mad at you, but you're mad at you because you're not, you realize that you haven't really set the boundaries. You just think you have. See, when we talk about boundaries, that's not the same thing as setting boundaries. When we set boundaries and we have consequences, that's a boundary. So when I set this boundary, if I take my son or my daughter who are grown and gone and having their wonderful life now, right? But when they were young and still at home, and I had a boundary about something, whether it was homework, classroom, classwork, grades, whatever the responsibilities were, then we set boundaries for those things. And then there were consequences, right? There's always a consequence from action, and there's a consequence from non-action. Both have consequences. And it's our role and our job. See, I love my children. I'm their dad. Now they're grown and gone. Now I'm still their dad, but I'm a friend. Right? It shows up. We transition. But I'm first the dad. If the friendship never gets to show up, I'm okay with that. My role is to be the dad, to teach the things that have to be taught, to create the discipline, the honor, the respect, and the understanding of what boundaries are, and then hold them accountable for that. And holding them accountable shows up, in this case, with younger people, through the consequences that take place because of the inaction that was done, or the violation that was done, or the dishonoring of boundaries that were, we think, set, but probably weren't. So now we have to, in your job, your situation is, you have a couple things that you need to do, and that you probably should do. None of them will be fun.
Well, I grounded him today, and now I'm feeling bad because he's mad at me.
Yes, so, I'm really, really glad you grounded him. And I'm tickled to death that he's mad at you. He needs to be really, really mad at you, and he's not even nearly mad enough, based on the story that you're telling. He's going to be madder before he's not mad anymore. You have to be prepared for him to be madder before he's not mad. And you have to be okay that he's mad at you, because you know what that means? What does it mean that he's mad at you? You've done your job. You're teaching the lesson. And your gift for teaching the lesson is that he's mad at you. The greater gift is going to come later. That little miniature gift you got was he's mad at you today. Now that consequence is only of value if being grounded is the next thing to death. If it's not a good consequence. Right? Because I grounded my daughter and my son both when they were 15 or 16 years old. Have you been in a 16-year-old's room? I could retire in their room. I could survive for years in their room. There's computers and TVs and radios and music, and under the bed, there's 3 weeks worth of food. Let's get serious, right? So I found that grounding wasn't the kiss of death.
Right,
Right.
so I put on an internet control program, and I told him he couldn't ride his bike until his work was done.
So let me give you an example.
That's when he got it.
Okay, now, I'm not going to tell you what to do. That's not my job tonight, right? That would be a whole different meeting and a whole different conversation. But let me tell you what I did. Let me be an example for you, and then you can make some choices for yourself, right? So, I took the bike, and I put it in the attic, and I locked it up. Grounding didn't work, for the reasons I just explained. You know what really worked? I took the cell phone. I might as well just stab him in the heart like Dracula with the wooden stake. the consequence has to be severe enough to cause the realization and the understanding of what they're doing, the action that they're doing, or the non-action that they're doing, is creating in your world and in their future. Because they don't get the 5 year, from 16, 2 or 3 years from now, they got to go to college and he ain't going to get in, right? So he's going to be a car mechanic or a plumber, right? And you don't want that for him. Not that those are bad jobs, they're great jobs, and we need a lot of plumbers and a lot of car mechanics, right? My car will break, thank God we have a mechanic, good. So, the other thing that you're tolerating, that you have to deal with, is your husband's lack of involvement and his resistance to assisting you in dealing with, because this is a father-son thing happening here. That happens sometimes. Now, it may not be in your case, but it happens sometimes. Because fathers and sons are pals. I was a pal with my son. Until I smacked him around emotionally, is how I mean that, right? Until I said, give me your phone, give me the keys to your car. I took his car once, when he was 16. I took his car. He had to ride a school bus. Do you know how that is? No, you know the pain of riding a school bus? Everybody in school knows you have a car?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't let him get picked up by a friend. That would have been the easy way out, because then he could have gone to school and said, oh, my car broke down. I had a flat tire. Billy picked me up this week. No, you have to ride a school bus, and I'm taking your car. That's the reality. That's what's happening, right? So the consequence has to be severe enough that it gets their attention. Because when you're 16, you have to get their attention. I'm serious, because their attention span is like this long, right? And they don't want to pay attention. School isn't important until it is. And when it is, it's too late, right? So you have to have a conversation with your husband. This is my suggestion. You do what you want. There's my disclaimer. I would have a conversation with my husband and say, hey, we have a serious situation. I'm carrying this load myself, and I'm getting tired. The load's getting heavy, and I'm getting tired. And I'm okay with my son being mad at me. I'm okay with our son being mad at me right now, because I think that's a good thing. Because that means maybe I'm getting through. Maybe he understands this is consequences. But I need your support. You have to have my back, and I'm going to have yours. We are together. We are a team. We are a united front in dealing with this situation. Do you want our son to be able to go to college? I think you do. We do. We want him to have a future. We want him to have a life of value. We want him to be able to contribute the gifts that we know he has to the planet. And you're supporting this. And then find the consequences that are severe enough that keeps his attention. Taking the bike for a day until his chores are done. I take his bike for a week. I take his cell phone. I wouldn't put a block on his computer. I'd take his computer. Well, how can I do my homework? The longhand. Go to the library and get a book. They have encyclopedias. That's how I did it. But that's not how we do it now. You don't have the now anymore. Your now is go to the library. Your now is figure out a way to get it done. Because you don't have a computer this week. You don't have a TV this week. I cut the cable. I unplugged the plug. I canceled electricity in your room. Whatever that stuff is that I did it. Because the conversation isn't working. I'm talking, but nobody's home. Right? Raise the bar. Here's what I promise you will happen. If you raise the bar and you refuse to lower the bar, you honor and you respect, and you get your husband's alignment with you, his collaboration with you, your son will rise to the bar. I promise you, your son will rise to the bar, and you'll be proud, and he'll be mad even in the process. Until he gets to the top of the bar, he's going to hate you, and that's okay. I'd rather have my son hate me for a week and love me for my life. I'll give a week or a month of hate for a lifetime of love and joy. That's what you want. Be okay that he's upset. Be okay that he's mad with you. Okay? We're all okay? Good. Okay, so, in closing, since I kept everybody a few minutes over, and I'm sorry, everybody online, I haven't even acknowledged anybody watching tonight, but I'm glad you're here, those of you that are watching us online. I'm going to close with this statement, and I'm going to give you the handouts that I brought for you tonight. And that is this: the universe will not make your decisions for you, but it will support you when you do. The universe will not make your decisions for you, but it will support you when you do. I give you my guarantee, I give you my promise. When you are convicted with intention, dedication, declaration, and expectation, the universe will show up. It will support you 100%. You will get to the end of your spiritual journey. Your son will get through high school with good grades, or good enough to go to college. Your husband will support you in that process, and your partner will wake up. Right? The universe, I promise you, will support you when you approach this with intention, declaration, and expectation. Intention to resolve. Declaration, you've done it. You spoke it out loud tonight. That's a declaration. You wrote it in your journal. That's a declaration. Both of you made a declaration tonight. That breathes life into the resolution. Declaration breathes life into whatever we're getting ready to do, or solve a problem, or embarking on an adventure. The declaration breathes life into the language. It brings the existence into it. And it puts the universe on notice. That's what they want. They just told me. The universe is not looking over your shoulder to see what you wrote in your journal. The universe is waiting and listening for you to speak to it. Please speak to it as loud as you can and as often as you can. It will honor, it will listen with great care and love, and it will deliver what you need. Right? Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure and a joy for me to be here tonight. Thank you.